Hello, everybody, and welcome to our June Facebook Live. Today we have Marcus Kroek with us. He is a business coach based in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales from a business called Amazing Tradies. Just thought I should also introduce myself. I'm Michelle Tolhurst, and I'm in the membership support team at Profit First Australia. So if you have ever emailed Profit First, you've probably had an email back from me. So Marcus, thank you so much for joining us. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Thanks, Michelle. Lovely to be here. Wonderful to be along and share some information with everyone out there in Facebook land. As I said, so I'm a business coach, so I coach people who happen to own businesses, and the end outcome of that is that they want their business to do better, normally in financial terms and also lifestyle terms for themselves. I've been doing that since 2005. Before that, I've had a number of businesses and a number of roles in other organisations. I've got a very varied background, imported, wholesaled and retailed fashion jewellery and sunglasses. I started out driving small tankers around Sydney for a family business. We had a photo shop, Kodak Express, from when cameras actually took film. That's how old I am. We had a tuition business. I'm actually a qualified science teacher and taught taught physics, actually qualified in chemistry. We had a tuition business. We've had other businesses along the way. Last one I was part of was with a client called Touchscreen Solutions, which is still going. Ran that for 3 years with him and continued business coaching at the same time. Amazing Tradies is a specialty part of our coaching business, which deals with tradespeople. I define those as people who swap time for money or work on a project basis. So it's not necessarily a person out there with a hammer in their hand. You know, hairdressers are tradespeople as well. Works exactly the same for solicitors or architects. They're very similar. They just use different tools. Based in the Hunter Valley, work with people all over the place thanks to the wonders of the internet.
Well, it sounds like you've had a lot of industry experience there and a lot of valuable things you can pass on to your clients.
Lots of interesting things along the way, interesting experiences, lots of different knowledge. Got to meet wonderful people along the way as well in their businesses and with their teams, and learned a lot from my clients, obviously along the way, picking up bits and pieces to share with other people. So one of the great things about what I do is that I get to pull from one business an idea and take it into another business they mightn't have thought of, or from one industry to another industry, such as from dentistry into a travel agent, which is a whole other story I can tell you about sometime.
So why did you decide to become a Profit First professional?
Yeah, it was actually a very easy choice when it came up. Part of the fundamentals of running any business is having the financial mastery of the business. So I do a lot of work with people on understanding their numbers in the business and explaining it to them in a non-accounting way. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any of those things. So I've had to learn to understand them myself in a simple enough way for me to understand and to explain to other people. So there's that part of it, and we find a lot of success in helping business owners understand what's actually going on in their business. I've used a lot of cash flow strategies along the way, what I refer to as the Kelley cash flow system, which is basically envelopes that we use at home. In the old days when we actually got cash, we would put that in envelopes. You'd get your pay packet and put it in an envelope for the electricity, for the mortgage, for the whatever was going on. And Mike, who wrote Profit First, talks about that with his mother in the book. So I remember that, and I had that experience myself of paying things on a regular basis, and I've implemented that with clients in a way. I just call it envelopes for business, where we've analysed their actual transactions in the business, which tend to get missed in their financials and never explained to them in their financials. So I was doing that, and then I think what had happened, I'd read one of Mike's other books called Clockwork, and Profit First came up and read that. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about, but we've got these other things put around it. We've got the psychology of it. We've got a methodology around it. It explains what we're trying to do just so nicely. So I sort of fell in love with it, and I talked to a couple of other people about it, and they were like, "Wow!" And for me, wanting to continually learn, I just saw and do better things for clients. I just saw it as such an eye-opening way of explaining this and putting it into place. And then when I talked to Laura and saw the community that was there as well, there's a resource from being part of it in their own business, as well as in my own business, to be congruent with it. So that's why we headed down that path. Yeah.
Okay, well, it seemed like a natural progression from what you were doing to make it a bit more systemized.
Yeah. There's the systemization of it, and just I think the whole concept, when people understand what it does for them, and then simple explanations of how to put it in place, that it clicks with people, and they go, yeah, we want to do that. I use that with all my business coaching, well, almost all my business coaching clients at the moment. Certainly anyone new coming on, it's a condition of becoming a client of mine now that Profit First is implemented in their business.
So if you could just explain a little bit more about how you actually work with clients when it comes to Profit First.
Yes, how do I explain that if somebody hasn't read the book? How do we work with clients? Well, we analyze their transactions and help them understand what's going on with their transactions. So we talk in Profit First about generally accepted accounting principles. The problem being that where accounting has come from with our balance sheets and how we look at the formulas of accounting, to what it's evolved to nowadays, which is largely based around tax accounting, it gives a very false impression of what's actually going on in a business. And the things people would say to me might be, my accountant's told me I've made $100,000, and by the way, I've reduced your tax by $10,000. You're only going to have to pay $20,000. People go, well, that's wonderful, but I don't have any money, and where do I get the money to pay that tax bill from? And the accountant has done a good job. No doubt about that, to get the tax bill done. But people don't understand where that money is, because often it's theoretical money, it's not cash in the hand. And that's what Profit First does for them. So with clients, what we do is help them analyse their books, and we look at them as well to find out exactly where the real money, the actual cash in the business, how that is flowing through. So understanding a lot of cash flows aren't actual cash flows, they're theoretical cash flows. We look at the actual cash taking that moves through the business and where it goes, analyze that to show them exactly where the money's going and what it gets spent on, and from that we can split it up so that you can see. Again, if we use bank accounts, but it's like we put this amount of money into that envelope and this into that envelope to pay for things. And it becomes a very understandable way for people to work. So, how do we work with clients? We help them understand that, help them decide which bank accounts to set up. In the Profit First book, it talks about some basic, 5 bank accounts. We set up a few more typically to help them really get a handle on what's going on. Then we monitor that along the way. And the great thing about Profit First is it becomes a dashboard for your business in and of itself, of where the money is in the business. So it becomes very simple just to be, and some accountants go crazy at this because we talk about not having bank balance accounting, but in fact, in Profit First, the way it's set up and the way you utilize it, because there's a lot of psychology and methodology about how it works, that by putting that in place as we move forward with it, we can look at it and see how the business is going in different areas, simply by looking at it. And then we delve down into other things to make it's a very easy system where once we have it in place, we can actually see where savings can be made, we can see where improvements can be made, and generate an actual cash profit that business owner can use at their discretion, if you like, along the way, as opposed to a number on a piece of paper. So people People love that, and it happens. One of the things I find now is I can say to any business, I can absolutely assure you, you will have money in the bank at the end of the year, which is very unusual.
That's right. I love that analogy of referring to it as a dashboard. Like all your bank accounts are, you log into your bank and you've got your dashboard of where your business is at, which is exactly what Profit First does.
It absolutely is, and we talk in business all the time about the management and the, like the airplane cockpit or whatever, but simplified down. What's the dashboard of your business that you can just look at and know whether it's working? Now, it doesn't tell you necessarily about marketing and sales and some of the other numbers that you need to know in the business, but a lot of the time, if you can see a profit account, an account with money in it increasing, and you're not running out of money to pay the bills, you can look at that and go, hey, we're going okay. So it's a very simple snapshot. It really helps run the business. And if you follow the way you go about using it, again, there's the psychology of it. So we talk about the way you distribute money in the business is very, very important. There's the methodology that goes with that. There's a rhythm to how so instead of, people are sitting down still looking at books and checking their bank account every day and paying bills every day. And it's incredibly stressful. We know divorce rates. I happen to be a marriage celebrant as well, just for a bit of fun. Some people play golf, I marry people. It's cheaper to be a celebrant than it is to marry people. The things that cause problems, financial stress, we know is number one cause of problems for people. The rhythm that you put in place with Profit First alleviates a lot of that stress in and of itself. And then you move to actually seeing money in the bank account. The stress level just comes right down. So there's just so many benefits for putting that in place. And I've seen that in my own business as well. I've implemented it into my own business, and we're tweaking it, and I just love it. Some of the implementations, and people find this a bit funny, and my clients sort of laugh at me now because I rave on about stuff like, my wife and I in the business had a phone bill of about $120 each a month. I've always had an all-you-can-eat plan in mobile because I work with people all over the place. When I first went into coaching, I had bills of a few $100s from the old mobile plans. But we're saving $200 a month because we, instead of just going, we just sign up again for the same mobile plan, we actually looked at it and went, what can we do? I enjoy saving $5 on a cup of coffee. There's a line in Mike's book about that. It's like, I really get a buzz out of saving money now. And you know what I can do with that? I can spend it on my holiday at the end of the year. So there's just so many benefits that comes along to clients that aren't just the financial, the reduction of stress, the ability to enjoy holidays, a bit of a buzz along the way because you can tick the box and see yourself doing well. Yeah.
That's right. And having that profit at the end of each quarter is always a bonus. And you go, what am I going to spend that money on this time? So it really does cause you. Sorry to read.
My daughter, my youngest, is getting married at the end of this year. So, that's quite a significant investment. So one of the envelopes, one of the bank accounts we run personally on top of that is a wedding account that we put money into to pay for the wedding. It makes just such a huge difference. In my own business, I've seen, even after I implemented it, and the next month I had rego due on my vehicle, so I had to deal with that. But then I had with COVID, the vehicle sitting at home, it's about 4 years old, I had a battery go flat, and in my vehicle it was $500 plus the service was $800. Now I run a separate vehicle account for our business vehicles, and we've worked out what we need for the year there. And this is the part that sometimes mightn't make sense to people about, well, but you're still paying the same amount of money. But it's really interesting how, when you allocate it out and put the money into that account on a monthly basis or fortnightly, whatever it happens to be for your business, that, before, instead of juggling, now I've just got the money in those separate places. So that $800 bill came up. So understanding that it's not like we're putting excess money in there. I've worked out what we need for the year. The $800 bill came up and was like, oh, it's there. I panicked a week ago because I looked and went, hang on, we've got the car payments coming out. It doesn't look as though there's enough money there. But then looked, and the one car payment had already come out. And yes, there was going to be enough money there for the next car payment. So it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. Just and I've got clients who have all of a sudden, after implementing it for only a few months, and people might say, well, that's not my business, but it's like, well, a client who is having a bit of financial stress, but he's got $10,000 put aside to put into investments. He's had his $40,000, BAS bill there ready to go. I had another client who was struggling for a year, always behind with suppliers, has had Profit First in for about 6 months before COVID hit, and had caught up with all his supplier payments. All those things just, if you follow the system, you make the profit pretty easily the first few percent. And then that's the thing for people to remember. Imagine if you even took 1% of what you bring into the business and put that into a separate account each year, but there was you weren't having to scrape to find that. We'd put things in place to actually just make that happen. That's great.
Yeah, it works, doesn't it? So you've touched a bit on your own implementation of Profit First. So since you've implemented, what changes have you seen in your business?
I'm not losing any more hair. I think that there's no stress. Look, just the simplicity of that. It's taking a lot less time to deal with the finances of the business. I'm a sort of micro business, so I'm not having to do a lot there. The money's just there. There's an interesting change in the psychology, even if you're working things out from spreadsheets, when you put it in Profit First. So I'd normally run cash flow spreadsheets and whatever. Put it in Profit First, and it really helps with the decision making of, should I buy this or not? I run on a philosophy of don't buy it unless it makes you a profit. So don't buy the thing just because you want to. It should be doing something for your business. And with Profit First, I can see, so I run a BAS account, I run a tax account, but I can just look and go, well, is the money there to do that thing that I want to do or not? I've got money set aside for various things that I need to do. And it's just because it's done through having various bank accounts, it just makes it easy to make that happen. And psychologically, you're looking at an account which has like operating expenses separately. It makes it easy to make decisions about what you do and don't do. And I've got profit sitting off in another account, that in another bank that I don't even look at. It just goes there. It's the very first thing I do when I allocate money out. I think one of the things for people when they hear things like that is it sounds like a lot of work, and see, it's actually not, and it actually reduces the work. Some bookkeepers say they get a bit resistant with, oh, that's a lot of work. It's like, no, it's not, because all you're doing on your accounting software is doing a transfer from one account to another. So it's like 5 transfers twice a month. And then the rest of it is actually exactly the same level of work for a bookkeeper, and makes it perfectly clear. So lack of stress. Strangely enough, there seems to be more money for things that I want to do because I'm not juggling. That's the big impact. And saving profit, it's there.
Fantastic. So it is so flexible. You mentioned you've got additional bank accounts set up. So you've got one for your car. So do you want to just talk a little bit about any extra accounts you set up?
So I think I run 7 in the business at the moment. Profit First has run 5 basic ones, where it's written in America. So we're lucky because we have OSCO payments and things in Australia, which, we have good banking systems and internet banking in Australia, which makes it good. So I have the paycheck one, which is where all the revenue comes into. I've got off into another bank completely. I've got a profit account that some money goes into, all done by percentages. I've got what's referred to as an owner's comp account. So that's where the money for me comes to, or that I'm then going to distribute into our personal accounts. I run a BAS account, tax account, so income tax account. I run the vehicle account, the operating expenses account, and I've got another just spare account that I put some money into. It's intended I'll put a few percent away for things that I do with clients. I run 90-day planning sessions with clients and, dinner at the end of the year. So I put a few percent in that to look after that. And then personally, we run a system of profit first, of having, so like I said, my wife's got an account for the money that she gets paid each week. I run an account for the house, so payments and investment properties, there's an account for that. So direct debit type accounts. And then there's an account for like the spending money for the week, if you like. And again, it just siphons it all out. So you're not worrying about, is the money there to pay whatever bill that is this month. I've always run systems, like in my calendar, I would have this week I'd make a monthly payment on rates for the house, then water for the house and electricity for the house. And now I just lump them all into one account and pay them from there. So again, it makes it simple. I'm not juggling a main account. I'm doing that to start with, like during the month, a couple of times during the month, I make allocations and the money's just there. So it makes it a lot easier. You don't overspend is one of the things you don't do as well, because again, it's like in the business operating expenses account, if the money's not there, you can't spend it, and you've got to get that through your head. So it's like, very easy.
It is so flexible that you can even apply it to your personal finances like you have done. So it's not just...
You should absolutely apply it to your personal finances. Absolutely. Yeah. And in some ways, it might be the first trick that people have to learn. A lot of the time businesses make good money, but it's very easy to spend money that comes in. One of the biggest impacts on small business in Australia, probably all business in Australia, has been GST, and the GST comes in and we spend it. So making sure that we understand the percentage that's going to be paid in GST and all those taxes and setting it aside, you can actually put that money aside and not delve into it when you have a good methodology about how it's done. And when again, the beauty, I keep referring to the psychology of profit first. And whilst I'd done spreadsheets and envelopes and things before, the psychology of what you pay first, the amounts that you pay, creating set allocations, percentages and things makes a massive difference to the implementation in your business and the effect that it has.
Yeah. So if you had one tip for the business owners watching, what would you suggest they do in regards to profit first and implementing it in their business?
Well, so my one big tip is implement it. That's the first thing. Then there's a first step which is pretty simple, and then the next steps were more become more complicated, where you might like to seek a profit first professional's help. I think, like in many things I find in business, and I believe it's the number one tip that Profit First gives is take a step into it. And you don't have to jump in and go, I want 20% profits, I'm going to send all of that off. It's actually take a step into it, because it will make a big difference even with a little step to start with. So just do that and get it going. Once you get it going, everything else will start to fall in place along the way. And the next tip that comes up is don't pull back as soon as something doesn't look right. It's like everything, you've got to let it take its course to get there. And if you're consistent with it, persistent, have some determination to see it through, you will definitely get the results. I absolutely guarantee anyone now. One of the things for me has always been, I tend to, I don't work with huge businesses, but I like them to normally be over $500,000 in revenue, and I like them to be $1 million to $5 million in revenue, because then I can easily generate multiples of my fee back for them in increased profitability and whatever. Profit First actually gives me a system where I can go into a business and have a fee structure that still guarantees them profit in their bank account. And again, I can say to them, I'll absolutely be able to guarantee you'll have the money to pay your your bills and have cash in the bank left over. That is one of the reasons I love it. I mean, I hope people can hear how assured I am in my own mind of what this can do for their business. And it's why I'm moving towards, well, I don't know that I'll work with anyone who isn't prepared to put it in their business because of the tick I can give. I just go, well, I know it's going to work.
Fantastic. So do you actually get them to set up the 5 accounts straight away, or do you just get them to start with like 1 or 2? Or
I like them to set up the accounts because I think there's a psychology around that. I think even in the, some people might be having some dark times at the moment, to then use the profit account. But whilst you're at the bank setting them up, you might as well set up 5 as 1. And you can start, people might say, I don't have the money for the initial profit allocations. But we will find that very, very quickly. Like to find a 0.5% or 1% of revenue, we will find in what you're doing. So you're not creating it from somewhere unknown. It's there, and we're just going to move it. And getting that discipline going is very important. It's like going for a walk 3 times a week. You don't have to go for a marathon each week, but if you go for 100 meters, at least we've got the discipline going that you're doing that. And then putting the other allocations in place just makes sense. You've got to do them anyway. And they're part of the analysis in Profit First is to see what makes sense for the business now and then work towards over a period of time the ideal, the targeted way that you want it to work down the track. Yeah.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And for the accountants, bookkeepers, or coaches that may be watching, why should they consider becoming a Profit First professional?
Yeah, I think there's a slightly different answer for everyone. The common answer is if you want a community, lots of bookkeepers and accountants and coaches work by themselves. I'm lucky through some other associations that I get to work with other people, and team's really important to me. As a Profit First professional, maybe foremost for you, even without the systems, is you've now got a team around you that you can work with. Laura, the CEO of Profit First in Australia, has a lot more skill and knowledge to her than bookkeeping, accounting principles, and Profit First as well to help you out. There are the calls run between members and the help that they give one another, I think, is a massively beneficial thing to have in and of itself. Then if you want to move, so lots of bookkeepers and accountants are in the tax or compliance area. Profit First certainly gives them a really, really solid way to move more to the advisory area, but beyond compliance, and it's set out for you. You don't have to invent anything. You can just go there. It's easy to explain. There's lots and lots of information, resources behind that to help you with that. So I think that's a big benefit. And the other thing is that for all of the groups of people who might want to join, and again, it comes back to that being absolutely assured the benefit that you're going to give to the people that you work with. And I know everyone that's joined Profit First sees that very, very quickly and sees it in their own business as well as in their client's business, and just love making that happen. The stories from those people about how they've implemented it in their business, like I've said, and the joy it brings them to talk to others and go, this is what will happen for your business. So that's it. For coaches, again, I think it is, because a lot of coaches like me, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, none of those things, and I don't want to be. It gives we have to know financials, be able to read them to some extent and understand some accounting principles. That then again, this gives a wonderful system to help you implement that into a client's business, and again, a good association of people. So for me, I don't really mind whether I am involved in the technical part of Profit First. There's understanding in the psychology and methodology to work with the accountants and bookkeepers within the system so that we're all on the same page is a great thing as well. So great resource, great system.
That's great. It's good that you touched on the fact that you don't have to be a bookkeeper or an accountant as well. So we do have several coaches who are successfully running profit first for other businesses as well. So that's really helpful to know. Well, that's all we've got for us today. So I will put Marcus's contact details in the comments. So if you'd like to get in touch with him, feel free to do so. And thank you so much, Marcus, for joining us.
Thanks, Michelle. Lovely to be here, and hope that's been of wonderful use to people.
It has. All right. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.